decided that if I were laying there all night long, the cleaning crew would come in and see me there naked laying on the floor. That would be probably more than they could withstand. So I decided I better figure out a way to get out of there. So I shimmied myself. I kept throwing my shorts up in the air and trying to get them on my feet. I finally were able to get them on my feet and pull my shorts up. So at least I was clothed. And I proceeded to shimmy over to a door and throw a towel over the door handle. And I decided that on the count of 3 that I was going to scream like a Comanche. And I did so, and I was able to pull myself to a standing position. There I was, shirtless, only with short workout shorts on. And I proceeded to go upstairs, and I was encountered by the maids, and they were very shocked to see me with no clothes on other than my shorts. And I was going, woo, 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 meaning I needed an ambulance, and they thought I meant I was crazy. So finally an ambulance came, and much to my chagrin, the 2 paramedics who were to open the back of the ambulance were both bodybuilders. And they had arms bigger than my thighs, and they looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I had to tell them that I'd hurt myself lifting weights, and they proceeded to tell me the proper way to do squats on the squat machine, which I didn't want to hear at the time because I was in a lot of pain. So they took me to the hospital. I was able to call friends of mine who came and got my billfold out of and all my other clothes that were in the locker, and they met me at the hospital, and I lay there in morbid pain, and I kept losing consciousness because I was in so much pain. They finally took x-rays. They came back and said I had a pulled muscle, which I knew was not correct, and I was sent home. My brother-in-law had to come and pick me off of this bed and take me home, and through a series of 4 or 5 days of being adjusted by a chiropractor in Denton, Texas, morning and night, I was able to return to work within about 4 or 5 days. But he said that if I had followed the advice of the medical doctor, that I'd probably been walking with a limp today, because I had torn the vertebrae, and it was pulling away from one sciatic nerve and digging in the other sciatic nerve. And that was what was causing all the pain in my leg. And I'm here today walking normal. One other miracle that I believe is a miracle, I'm the youngest of 6 children. I was preyed upon. I was abused by my older brothers and sisters in a funny sort of way. But when I was about 5 years old, I was in the backyard with my 2 older brothers. And they were playing with gasoline and fire. I can tell this story all day long and not on camera and not cry. Anyway, I have a brother Brian and a brother Jim. And my brother Jim was annoyed that my brother Brian had gotten a bunch of these little green army men as a gift from my father. And he proceeded to show Brian how you could pour gas on them and light them and watch them bubble and fizz. And since we lived on a farm, we burned our own trash, and so they proceeded to go out to the trash cans and proceed to burn up all these army men. And I wanted to see, and I wanted to be a part of my older brother's schemes, and so I was pushing myself through their hips, trying to get to the trash can, which was right at my nose level, so I could watch these little green army men, bazookas and riflemen burning, and they wouldn't let me. And they kept saying, this is for older boys, not for children. And they kept pushing me to the back, away from them. And so I became annoyed. So I walked backwards and put my arms on this cellar, which was an indoor half out of the ground, half in the ground cellar, storm cellar, which in Texas we need from the, keep away from the tornadoes. And I sat there proceeding to whine and tell them that I was going to tell Mother if they didn't let me watch and all that. And they kept pouring this gas and lighting this little army men in this trash can, which was a 55-gallon drum. And it was all full of burnt trash and cans and tuna cans and beans and whatever that we had consumed as a family. And as that gas would go trickle down through that trash, it would start making deposits in these little cans. And after about 20 minutes of pouring this gas and lighting it, there was pools of this gas that had formed in the bottom of the trash, and all of a sudden you heard this noise. It went, about that time, the trash can exploded where the gas had lit and made a combustion. And all the trash came straight up like a cylinder out of that trash, all this black debris. And both my brothers were there right in front of the trash, and they both jumped like this. One had a can of gas, and he threw it backwards, and one had a torch, and he threw it backwards, and I was right behind them. And I felt that cold liquid hit my face and my body, and then just the excruciating terror of being on fire. And the first thought I had was I needed to get to my parents. So I turned to run. And my oldest brother, who was 8 years older, was able to trip me. And I remember hitting that Texas clay very hard and almost knocked me out of my breath. And I remember him rolling me in that dirt to put me out. And I have 2 other sisters who were watching and playing. They were playing in a car about 30, 40 feet from us. And they saw the whole commotion. They saw me catch on fire. They saw me be put out. And there were guests visiting my parents, and my sister ran inside, and Kathy, and she said, "Matthew's on fire, but he's put out. Jim put him out." And of course that terrorized my family and my parents, and they came running out. And I had to go to the hospital. And I had to get, I had 3rd-degree burns. I guess that's the most severe burn overall my arm. And I have the scars today. Anyway, I think it's a miracle that if my brother hadn't tripped me and wasn't able to get to me, that I'd probably have facial distortion and hair loss, and my hair was all burned off. But I was pretty much a bruised kid that day, and I don't tell that story very often.